Welcome to our world-renowned podcast, Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray. I'm a TEDx and keynote speaker and author. Also, I'm executive producer of the movie Show Her the Money. Plus, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation. Our weekly show features interviews with powerhouse women founders, funders, and change makers that are sure to inspire you. Let's go. Thank you so much for tuning in to Invest in Her this week. As usual, we have on an incredible guest. She is the co-founder as well as the chief community officer for Mission Driven Finance. Already sounds exciting, right? And they do impact investing and lending, and we're going to find out what that is. So please welcome to the show, Lauren Grattan. Hi, how are you, Lauren?
I'm well. How are you, Catherine?
Good, good. I'm so glad our paths have crossed because, I have so many female founders out there that are looking, of course, for funding, and then people out there that are looking to invest. So I love that you combine both with mission-driven finance. Tell me more about mission-driven finance and how it started.
Sure. So I'm co-founder, chief community officer, as you said. We started almost 10 years ago, and I had been working in nonprofit fundraising and development. I'm just passionate about creating a better world. I believe it's possible. And I also thought, wow, we've got to put more money towards social and environmental issues than what's being given away because they're not getting better. We need to activate all of our resources in service of that. And there were more people who were excited about investing in alignment with their values. But they would turn and say, like, okay, this seems great in practice, but where do I actually put this? How do I invest in the things that I want to see grow and flourish in the world when they're not really on my brokerage platform? I don't know how to find them. And on the flip side, great founders, entrepreneurs, and small businesses are always looking for capital. They needed to have a values aligned partner that can bridge the gap between them, can understand what investors are looking for, and also understand what these community rooted businesses and projects need in order to be able to scale. And I grew up mixed race in Hawaii, Irish, Chinese, and Native Hawaiian. So
Yeah,
my
I
whole
read
life,
that. I go, wait a minute, Irish, Chinese, and Native Hawaiian. Let's not brush over that. That's really an incredible mix.
it is. I mean, Keanu Reeves has a similar mix as me, so I think that I'm in great company.
There you
Um, he's
go.
got a little bit of, I think, Scottish in the mix, but
So
we'll
where are
count
you
it good
coming
enough.
to us from today?
Pardon?
Where are you coming to us from
Oh,
today?
I am calling from my home in San Diego.
San Diego, but you are Native Hawaiian, so you grew up there?
I did grow up there, and my mom was Chinese and Native Hawaiian. Her mom was predominantly Native Hawaiian, and her mom before that. So my family has been in Hawaii for about 1,000 years, as far as we can tell, before
Wow.
Western contact. Yeah.
Well, my wife and I were there last year, and we just love Hawaii. Like, love your homeland. It was so beautiful, so relaxing. It's a nice getaway. Maybe not for you because you'll be visiting family, but
Yes.
for
My
us.
trips home are very much a mix of a family reunion, and actually one of our clients is based there. So I also do some work in helping to grow a robust and regenerative economy in Hawaii when I'm back. So working with
Love
small
that.
businesses and other folks when I'm back home in Hawaii as well.
So I understand, like your job as the chief community officer, is internal culture and your partnership relationships. What does that entail?
That's a great question. Every day is different, but we want to make sure that our insides match our outsides. That the philosopher of our times, I guess, Adrienne Marie Brown, has written about fractal energy, where your micro patterns, spiral up and create the outward change. Very much like Gandhi saying, "Be the change that you want to see in the world." So, how we operate internally is how we want to make sure that our relationships are um, flowing into community and vice versa. So, we do a lot of this internal work of creating a culture of belonging, making things that I didn't enjoy from my time in other larger employment structures. Like, let's do away with that. Let's have it be a great place to be a working parent, to have different caregiving needs, have the flexibility that people can show up fully to work with all of the differences of their lived, learned, and labored experiences. And I was in a caregiving mode for about 4 months of our time, and I'm like, guys, I'm just not going to be like available in the same kind of way. Let's make that be the norm. How can we do that so that this really comes from the top? That being a full human is not only allowed, but appreciated and encouraged. So that's what the internal culture building work looks like. Um, Hard to explain HR policies in a podcast interview kind of setting, but it's a lot of that. Like, let's think it through. What does that mean for people to be real people? And then externally, how does that mean? What is the tenor of our relationship? How do we make sure that that gets codified into our contracts, into our loan agreements, into the way that we want to have a healthy relationship? Let's make sure that that's coming through. So that is a really big way of explaining the different kinds of things that I do.
I love that. It sounds like you have like a great working environment, and then partner relationships. Tell me about that.
So we work across all sorts of different things. As you know, I was starting to say we worked with folks who want to invest in small businesses and their small businesses and themselves, and they need to have different kinds of supports. We can't do everything for everyone, but what we can do is partner with and recognize the strengths that other players in the field may have and say, okay, how can you're really great at this thing, and we have this particular lane that we're supportive in, what I refer to as weirdo finance. Like, you need something very complicated, structured, and put together for a sensitive part of community. We're a great shop for that. But we can't be your best friend. We can't do all of the technical assistance and capacity building that folks need. So we like to partner with others and say, you're great at this. Keep doing your thing, and we'll come together and partner with you to be able to make sure that this grows and a vibrant economy flourishes together.
So, like, you might be lending to a small business, and then you have partners to come in and help them where you're seeing their weak spots, so to speak.
Exactly. And sometimes that's happening before we make a loan. We say, you love the idea of your business. You are doing fantastic things. And we don't want to make a loan to you that's going to be burdensome for you to hit those loan payments. To be able to be ready, we really think that you should work with this a bookkeeper. We've got a few that we like if you don't have somebody in your community, and they can help you to formalize these things. So whether you get financing from us or from somebody else, they're going to want to see these things in place, and that will put you in a stronger position to weather the storms.
Well, first of all, I love the name Mission Driven Finance. I
That
love that
comes to
because I
my
think
co-founder. He's a very literal person.
I love that. And I want people to understand what you all do, what impact investing and lending is. So you help investors invest in some of the companies and you help lend money to some entrepreneurs. What is the criteria for that? What are you looking for in both of those arenas?
Yeah, so we usually are creating these containers in between funds. And you're used to doing this on a brokerage platform with buying a mutual fund, but instead we work in private markets. So to businesses and nonprofits, not on your publicly traded equities. And so we're putting these things together and we work with sometimes a community, sometimes an investor set who say, we want to invest in these kinds of businesses. How do we put this together so that we can have this type of impact outcome? Maybe it's supporting, so we talked about with Hawaii, supporting businesses that are owned or led by Native Hawaiian individuals, or they are employing Hawaiians, and they're creating a robust food system in Hawaii because they spend billions of dollars importing food to an incredible bio machine. What if instead we had this growing in Hawaii? We can finance things like that and say, here's what this kind of criteria looks like. How many businesses are out there that would look like this? What would this, how quickly would we be able to support them? If we invest X kind of capital and Q kind of support into these Y businesses, then we can expect the Z impact and financial returns. So we work on that like space between that's kind of pulling all of those aspects together, which allows for investors into our different funds to say, I'm looking for this type of financial and impact return. And maybe that's into this, and it's a diversified fund vehicle, not just like a single investment. But like I get to do 20 by being involved.
That's what I've always loved about venture capital funds. You're pooling your money with other people, right? And then you're automatically having it deployed by the experts into,
Yeah.
15 or 20 different portfolio
And
companies.
I love that too. I was in a women's donor circle with 140 women for about 10 years, and it was fantastic. It was like, I don't need to assess every uh, nonprofit that's doing great work for vulnerable women and girls. There's a grants committee that's doing that, and my money is going together, and we're making more significant grants together. So we're doing the same thing, but with loans in our case.
Right. So let's say there's a entrepreneur out there that needs funding. How do they apply for your loans and what are the qualifications?
I wish I had a super easy answer. We love to just have people come to us. And if we can, because we manage so many different funds, there's different criteria for each vehicle. We have a fund supporting Indigenous entrepreneurs across the continent. That's not going to be a fit for everyone. But when they come to us, we can say, okay, do we have a pool of capital that makes sense? The most flexible capital that we have is in California and New Mexico, but I'm working on getting something going nationally. But for businesses that have about 1 million in revenue or more and are growing, so being able to say, I'm looking for growth capital. I want debt. I don't want to be having more equity investments at this time. Maybe it's
Mhm.
not the right time for you, or you've got that um, kind of mandate from your existing equity investors. Please don't compress us down. And particularly being able to provide that kind of bridge capital or working capital that helps to extend your round and get you to a strong position where you can continue growing and supporting your community.
So this is
So,
basically kind of considered debt capital.
yeah, we
Yeah,
make
so
lots.
they're taking on debt rather than giving away equity. They happen to be in a position that they're growing, but they need some more capital to grow more, but they don't want to give away more equity.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably doing $1 million or more in order to have access to your funding.
Yes, that would be great so that we have kind of a benchmark is we don't want you to take on more than a third of your annual revenue in in a loan. It's just going to be really tough, especially in these macro conditions. It's going to be hard to make those debt payments. And so with the check sizes that we have between typically 500,000 up to 1.5, 2 million, that's going to be something around $1 million of annual revenue as a ground floor. We can do things a little bit more flexibly, but we're always open to have the conversation. And if we're not the right fit, we'll try and get you connected to the ones that are. But
Uh,
a lot of the times, as you said, Catherine, it's not always the best thing to take on equity. We've got a lot of businesses that are in kind of industry or like intensive production needs, like more and so in the clean tech space, where you don't want to give up equity to buy inventory. That's not a good use of
I think
selling
it's a
off.
lot of businesses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of businesses that buying inventory with your equity is not the best use case. Buying like your staff that's going to help get you into a stronger position, fantastic use for equity. But where you want to complement it with debt is those things that are like
Like
not
inventory. Yeah,
exact.
just scale.
Hmm.
And so you have these different funds, and so that entrepreneur needs to fit in one of those. Like you mentioned, the Indigenous Entrepreneurs Fund. What are some of the other funds?
We have the two funds in California and New Mexico are both called Advance. We have Advance California and Advance New Mexico. We like to be consistent, but those are our broadest vehicles that support folks of all different kinds in being able to close those gaps in access to capital where you've made it above microfinance and financing your business on credit cards, but your bank won't necessarily extend you a working capital loan and you need that to be able to grow.
And
We like to solve that.
is this lending at a reasonable interest rate?
We think it's reasonable. It's what we're able to get our investors to agree to. It's also, we try and peg comparable to the Small Business Administration's loan rates, but with greater access to them. So it's sometimes if you've got a bunch of different operating companies or a complex cap table, SBA lenders look at it and say, like, I can't figure this out. And that's a great place where we can be of support. But we're comparable to SBA rates without being the SBA.
I love that. And it is hard for especially women, people of color, LGBTQ entrepreneurs to get funding. It's just more difficult with the banks and SBA and so forth. So that's great that you have this alternative option, and I'm so glad to tell people about it. Mission drivenfinance.com is something they should check out and see if they're a good fit. And then these funds are created by the investors who are interested in impact investing, right? So they would reach out to you to say, hey, I heard about your Indigenous fund, I heard about your California fund, and I want to invest in it because I know you are lending to these entrepreneurs who, as far as women go, tend to be more successful than their male counterparts. So it makes a good bet. And so they're investing in your funds, and then that money is used to leverage this lending opportunity, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And you nailed it that women start businesses at much higher rates and they don't get the same kind of financing support. We want to turn that tide. Why not have stepping stones of capital that help you to grow that are suited to you in the different parts of your journey? We want to just help close those gaps.
And so these funds seem different than your average venture fund because you're investing in it and then that money's being lended, correct? So how do those investors make a return on that fund from the interest that's being collected?
Yes. So we do private credit funds, not venture capital. So not investing equity. Um, like one caveat, one of them is that we have a real estate fund for childcare facilities, but we have the rest of our vehicles at this time are in credit, and so our investors are making a return back from the interest that we have charged to our borrowers, as well as that return of the principal. But it's just a slight um, additional interest between what our investors are getting back and what our borrowers have been paying.
I see. Really interesting. So different than your average, like you said, venture capital fund or, angel investing opportunity. So very unique. Glad to tell people about it. And where would they find out more information? Would that be on your website? And is that missiondrivenfinance.com?
You got it. Our website is the best place to find information. We're also pretty active on LinkedIn, um, LinkedIn Mission Driven Finance, and we are pretty responsive to our inquiries there. But our
Great.
team is always happy to meet new folks and try and get them plugged in because there's a lot of jargon out there. There's a lot of confusion in the marketplace. Like, where do I go for this? And again, our orientation is that we want to be of service. We want to make this easier. We know how hard it can be. I know how hard it can be being mistaken for the secretary or something else. I'm like, it's not easy to be a woman in business.
That
Let's
happens a lot. Yeah.
right. I was like, just because I'm friendly and offered you water, you think I'm the office manager. And even if I was the office manager, let's like be kind about it.
I know
Um,
so many stories like that, Lauren.
too
And
many.
Lauren, are there any success stories you could share with us? Love to hear. We always love to hear those.
Oh man, it's so hard to pick just one. Um, there's dozens of women that we've supported, some that I'm still really close to, even though I don't do direct borrower support anymore. But I think of Marlena, who started a diabetes prevention and
Oh,
alleviation nonprofit. She's got great contracts for health services, but she needed growth capital to support. And Marlena was able to grow from doing just one contract to now doing many, many contracts that worth hundreds of thousands of dollars each.
fantastic. So you can loan to both profit and nonprofits?
That's true. Yes. So that's one of the benefits of doing debt instead of venture capital or equity financing. There's no equity to take ownership in a nonprofit structure, but they often are getting contracts, revenue, and they get paid oftentimes after the fact. Well, businesses do too, but paid after delivery. And you're wondering, well, how am I going to have the staff to execute that contract before I get paid? We can help bridge that.
Love that. Love that. Thanks for enlightening us today. Also, Lauren, are you on yourself on LinkedIn?
I am. I am on LinkedIn. Happy to connect with folks there. Drop me a note and see what mayhem I get up to.
Yeah, great. Well, whether you're an investor or an entrepreneur looking for funding, definitely you want to check out Mission Driven Finance and see if it's a good fit for your needs. And you can check out Lauren Grattan on LinkedIn. So for those of you just listening in, that's Lauren and then Grattan. You can also check out me, Catherine Gray, on LinkedIn. I'm Catherine with a C and Gray with an A. We're so glad that you tuned in this week. You can visit our websites as well for lots of free advice and resources on showherthemoneymovie.com, which is all about teaching women and men about venture capital and the underfunding of women, like we were just talking about with Lauren, and also sheangelinvestors.com. So be sure to check out all of our websites, follow us on LinkedIn. We'd all love to meet you, and we thank you for taking the time to tune in. Lauren, thank you for being such a great guest.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Thanks for the great work you and your team do.
Thank you. You too. Make it a great week, everybody.